What if you took the word giving and you made it a perspective on everything, on who God is, on who we are, on what the world is like? What would you learn from that? What would you see that you hadn't seen before? How would it shape you? Those are some of the questions that I wanted to explore in the book of giving, and just writing the book was an amazing experience for me. And it's contrary to popular belief, but the book actually has nothing to do with money. In fact, I would say it has everything to do with everything. And that's just another way of saying that the book is trying to get at the deepest questions that we have as humans. And those questions are, who is God? Who am I as a creature made in his image? And then, how am I supposed to interact with the world around me? And using giving as a perspective reveals some pretty profound things in relation to those three questions. First of all, if God is essentially giving, then, and that comes out in, for example, in John 3:16, where he says he so loves the world that he gave his only son, then God must give himself to himself, which sounds very strange and impersonal, but it's actually the opposite. He does do this. In fact, the Father gives himself to the Son, and the Son gives himself to the Father, and the Spirit gives himself to the Son and the Father. Now, this is person giving on a level we can't understand. And yet, it helps us to see the beauty in God giving himself when it comes to seeing that God gave a person, right? His person, the Son, for us. God is a person giver. And is that not wild? Does that not blow your mind that the God of all things, one God in three persons, is essentially giving? He's always giving himself. Could God really be that prodigal, we might think? And I would say, yes, he can be, and he is that prodigal. He doesn't just give us salvation, which of course is the greatest gift. He also gives us creation. He gives us our time, our space, our sensations, our relationships, our joys and passions. God is an incessant giver. So that's the first question. But the second question is, if we are made in God's image and God is a giver, then that means we will thrive when we become more giving. And again, many people think that this has to do with money, giving money away. This is really not the focus of it. The focus is that it has everything to do with our fundamental posture towards everyday life. How can we give our time, our attention, our wisdom, our passions? How can we give ourselves to someone else? And whenever we find these little ways to give ourselves to another person, whether that's just giving them our attention for 10 minutes or sharing our wisdom or doing something else that puts them above us, every time we do that, the world begins to brighten and we become more and more who we were made to be as image bearers of this self-giving, prodigally giving God. Third, if God really is a giver, then what we're surrounded with, you can look all around you, wherever you are right now, what you are surrounded with is a gift. We are surrounded by a country, a cosmos of gifts everywhere. And we act possessive and deserving really easily. At least I know I do. And so you can't have that posture towards gifts. The correct response to a gift, of course, is gratitude, thanksgiving, and maybe even joy, even though that's not often the response that we have towards things in the world around us. We take them for granted, or we treat them as possessions. We act as if we're deserving of them in some way. But that's not how you respond to gifts. Now, I'm so excited to share with you all that God has shared with me in this book. It's a tremendous amount of insight that I certainly couldn't have gotten on my own. God was very gracious to me in showing me things from His Word day by day as I thought about this book and started drafting it. And I can promise you that if you read it, you will have a fresh perspective on who God is, who you are, and what the world is like all around you. And I think that you won't really see yourself or God or the world in the same way again.